Hi guys, this is editing Tanya here. Just to say that Sasha's mic, her good mic, was not correct, was not connected properly during this episode, and we only realized right at the end. So what you're picking up is the mic from her laptop, so it's not as good. We apologize. Please forgive us, and it won't happen again, probably. Enjoy!
Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome to Thirsty Something, episode 4.
Cuatro.
What's the title of this episode?
I haven't decided yet. What
Hmm.
do you think it should be?
Um, an interview with a Tanya.
Tanya?
Yeah, it's a
Tanya?
play on an interview with a vampire.
I don't even know what
It's
that
a
is.
it's a famous film, I think.
Oh, okay. I guess not that
I
famous.
think I think Brad Pitt is in it.
Oh, isn't he cancelled? I'm just kidding. I don't know.
Oh, so are we not allowed to
No,
mention his
no.
name? Okay. Okay, well, welcome everybody. This episode is called An Interview with a Tanya, or
Maybe.
whatever Tanya decides to call it
Yeah.
instead. Um, and I'm leading today for once, and it's going to be an interview because Tanya recently posted a video on her YouTube channel, which was a vlog explaining what she's been through over the last couple of years. It is called
It's called Leaving My Relationship, Job, and City Behind, Starting Over at 30. Oh, no, maybe like at 30. I don't know. Something. Wasn't very
something like
memorable.
that, very long.
Yeah.
Joking.
We'll link to it
Um,
wherever you can find links.
yeah. So, just as a quick summary, maybe in case anyone hasn't listened to previous episodes or hasn't really put it together, um, Tanya has been going through a transformation over the last couple of years. It started when she kind of realized that her life as it was didn't suit her. It was wrong for her and she needed to change it. And this included living in London. It included her relationship, which maybe took longer for her to realize. And it included her career. And these realizations took a while, but about 4 months ago, it all came to a head, I would say. Like you've been living more and more in Portugal, but it all
Mm-hmm.
came to a head 4 months ago because within a couple of days you had to end your relationship and you quit your job.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Blown it up. It's been fun, guys.
so if you haven't seen Tanya's vlog, you should go watch that, and maybe if you're interested enough, you should watch that first and then come back. Because now I'm gonna ask Tanya some questions that have come up after watching that vlog. And I think that's enough for an intro, right?
Yeah, well, I'll say a little bit about, I guess, why I'm choosing to expose more of myself online.
Mm,
Um, which is, I guess, like a part of me hates it, and a part of me is like, oh my god, stop being so self centered and just like talking about yourself online. But also, I feel like what I've been going through, I'm probably not alone in it. And in fact, I know some people who've felt similar, I guess. So I guess I just wanted to offer some companionship and lessons. Like, if there are any lessons I can share that other people would relate to or it'll help them in their life, I really wanted to
mm,
do that. So I just felt really drawn to doing that. And also, I thought it'd be fun to just document this chapter of my life because there's been a lot of change. There's going to be a lot of change. There's going to be a lot of me trying new things and striving for new things. So I thought it would be a fun thing to document. Um, so here we go. I don't really know what I'm doing with it, but we're going to find
mm.
out.
And actually, one of your favorite YouTubers, Caroline Winkler, went through the same thing, but years ago.
It's true.
So it's interesting that you like have already followed that and now you're going through the same thing. Maybe you'll become other people's Caroline Winkler.
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, maybe a part of her experience has influenced me to some extent. But yeah, I guess she did, yeah. And she was also like a similar age to me, I think, at the time when it
Mm,
happened to her.
yeah.
Yeah.
You've kind of answered my first question. Well, how's the response on the video so far?
There hasn't been a whole lot of it. Um, like, I mean, it's not many people have watched it or anything, but a few people have commented, and it's been quite nice. Like, it's nice to know that there are people out there that actually want to share their perspective on a stranger's video and share like what they're going through. So it's nice to know that somebody out there is connecting with it. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's only been
hopefully
like
we get the same thing on this podcast.
yeah.
Um, so you decided to make this vlog. You've got a little bit of response so far. What do you hope for it? It's not just for this video, but like what's your plan? What's your hope for this YouTube thing?
There isn't really a plan, I'd say. Like, I really don't know what I'm doing over here with a lot of stuff that's going on in my life, but I'm just like trying to have fun and like follow a sense of inspiration. So I think like my vlogs are probably going to be pretty random and like varying in size and content and stuff. TBC. I guess I'll figure it out as I go along. But
Mm,
what I would hope, I think, is to build like a small community of loyal subscribers and people that are like minded and maybe are going through something similar or like want to be inspired by my content and are like trying to move through something in their life. And that's really it. It's like a
is
bit of
this the kind of
community.
content you've been watching?
A little bit. Yeah. Like not hugely. I've seen like bits and pieces of the stuff that I want to do. So for example, I in my algorithm, there's sometimes these very cute old women that just like film themselves talking for like 20 minutes and talking about like a lesson they've learned in their life. And they're so cute and so like sincere. And I love that. I love that YouTube is a place for like old people to just like share their wisdom. So there's a bit of that in there. And yeah, and there's a couple of YouTubers I follow that have like quite an eclectic set of hobbies and interests, and they kind of just put all of it in their channel, and you see them as a whole person.
Mm,
It's more like produced, I guess, like obviously very well thought out content and like very well edited and stuff like that. But I'm very inspired by that kind of stuff too. And funnily enough, like ever since I posted my video in my algorithm, there's a lot more videos almost exactly like mine. Like
mm,
other women in their late 20s or 30s being like, I'm starting over, or like, I'm going to build my dream life in 1 year, follow along. And like people like just trying to document a transformation in their life. So it's very cool
cool.
to see that.
Have you commented on their videos?
Yeah. I,
Nice.
I said, let's cheer each other along.
Yeah, that's nice. Okay, so in your video you talked about a lot of different like aspects. So like what led you to making the decisions that you've made recently and what um uh happened beforehand, what's happened since. So you started by saying basically that you feel like your life as it was um like 2 years ago or more was like you weren't sure if you actually chose that life for yourself. You felt like when you started having these realizations, you were like, did I actually just say yes to things and stumble into this life, or did I
Mm,
actually choose it for myself?
mm.
So, can you give some examples
Of things that I stumbled
of,
into.
yes.
Yeah. Well, I guess a lot of it is related to my previous relationship, I think, in the grand scheme of things. Like, I moved to London because he was there and because I didn't have a strong feeling about where else I wanted to go. So it was like, well, I might as well just do that. So I ended up there and stayed for 8 years. So that's one example. I think also like moving into a country or city where someone else is already established meant that I kind of got injected into his existing life and like the things he liked to do, the places he liked to go, and the people that he was around. And while I'm so grateful that all of that was there for me in my early 20s, there was a bit of a like, okay, well, this is my life established now. And like,
Mm.
I think it becomes a bit difficult to break out of it, especially when you're in a relationship. It is like
Mm.
inevitably going to be a part of your life. But there's a beautiful thing about being like having a blank slate, like where I am now, where, okay, now you've got to make really intentional decisions about what you do want to build for your life or like what really inspires you. So a bit of that was also just stumbling into it. And similar with my career, like I got
Yeah.
a role that was good, um, and it turned into a marketing role because that's what they needed in the company. And I was like, okay, yeah, sounds fun. Um,
And you
and I
got
just
this through a connection, right? Not because you actually looked for that job.
no, I mean, I was looking for jobs and it was really hard and stressful. But this particular job I got through a friend of a friend. Well, it was basically one of my ex partner's friends' brother that hired me. I had to interview and everything. It wasn't just pure nepotism, but it was, yeah, obviously it was through that connection. And yeah, and then fell into a marketing career and stuck with it for a lot of reasons, good reasons, but it was something I stumbled into. And I don't know if I would have necessarily chosen that for myself had it not been presented to me.
Yeah.
So all these things, I mean, there were such big things, obviously, that take up so much of your life that I'd stumbled into. And there are probably other examples, but I guess those are the key ones. And I was like, what? It kind of just makes you think, like, where would I have been had all that not been presented to me? Because it probably would
Mm.
have been so different.
Mhm.
Um,
Did you try to kind of break out of these things that you had stumbled into, or would you say that you accepted them wholeheartedly for a long time?
um, I'm not sure I would say I accepted them wholeheartedly. I embraced them. I really tried to embrace them and be grateful for the stuff I had. But I think, yeah, to an extent, I think I did try to break out of it, but I didn't try hard enough, I think.
Mm.
And that probably will come down to some of the other questions you'll ask me later about self trust and whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like I think as an example, you know, all the friendship group that we were in, as much as I love and respect the people that were my partner's friends and who obviously embraced me as a friend, I knew that it was important for me to take more time to nurture my own friendships that were not related to my partner. And that was really difficult. And I tried to fight
Mm.
for that quite a lot. I think, especially like towards the end of our relationship, it was a point of not contention, but it was a discussion we had to have quite a lot. And it was really difficult to do that, like to stand your ground on that and be like, no, I don't want to go to this party of your friends. And it's not because I don't care about them or it's not important to go to their birthday or whatever, but it's like I need to just start being brave enough to say no to make room for this other stuff that I know I need to prioritize. But what's
Mm.
hard is like, at least in my situation, my partner was so he loved like packing his schedule full of stuff and full of social events, and inevitably I was invited to all of it. I'm not somebody that naturally would pack my schedule with social events. I like a lot of space and like spontaneity with my social events. So me saying no to stuff wasn't to swap it out, was a plan I already had. it was like saying no for the opportunity for something else, which is kind of hard to justify when you're saying
Mm,
no. But I had to just get like strong enough to do that, really. And thankfully,
mm,
my partner was supportive, but I think it was a bit of a challenge at times. So that is one example of how I tried to fight it. My career, I did try to fight it, but my challenge, like I tried to fight it in the sense that I was always thinking about, well, what would I want to do instead. And I started exploring things like studying psychotherapy or counseling, and I went to like a couple of open days at universities and things. But my challenge was that like I really struggled to feel a sense of like something was definitely the right path. So it became scary to try to jump ship into something that you didn't also feel confident about. Like I wanted to know what I wanted, and maybe I was trying too hard to be sure. And like maybe you should just go for whatever, just like try something else, and see what happens. But I was a bit
yeah,
stuck in like I'll only give up this like secure good job if I'm sure about something else I wanted to do. But that was quite hard for me to find until recently.
yeah. My observation of your decisions in your life um, at that time, like in those 8 years, I would say, was, or maybe 6 years. Wait, yeah. How long were you in London? Until you had the realization that life was wrong.
At that point, 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
okay. My observation was that you had it's like you said, like you had everything. You had this career, you had this friend group, and you had all these things that were kind of like secure in your life. Maybe you hadn't made it for yourself, but it was secure, and like you had a lot to be grateful for. And I feel like you didn't really take risks. You prioritized security, and like there were some things that you wanted to do in your career, like, oh, maybe I want to be a therapist, this kind of therapist or that kind of therapist, and I would encourage you, but ultimately you were kind of like, I don't know, you chose your secure career instead.
Mm. Yeah, and I look back and I don't know if I regret that necessarily. Like, I was uncomfortable and not very happy, but honestly, like, I think in your 20s, I think a lot of people probably feel this way, but you're kind of just keeping your head above water and like, you're just coping, not necessarily thriving. And I think like when you live in an expensive city as well, you just suddenly like you have to care so much about having a stable income. And it's like, okay, let's
Mm,
just keep things stable, don't rock the ship, don't be too risky, don't be too bold, just like survive. And I think I was
mm,
a bit in that mindset. Not that it was right, I think also in your 20s is a great time for risk. It's a great time to fail a million times. For me, I didn't. I made sensible decisions throughout. And
yeah.
I don't look back at any of my decisions and feel like they were a mistake. But honestly, I'm in a phase of my life where I wouldn't mind having more mistakes happen if it's in the name
Mm,
of being brave and doing what you want and like leaning into your intuition and what inspires you. But yeah, I used to make very sensible decisions.
so you talk in your video about self-abandonment, or you mention it, self-abandonment. What does that mean, and what did it mean for you in that period of your life?
Hmm. Yeah, that one is a hard question. I think like part of it comes down to what I was saying earlier about like when you're in a partnership and they have a really established life. One way in which I abandoned myself a little bit was there was always this battle between the whispers inside me trying to lead me elsewhere and and the certainties that he had that would overpower my whispers. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
There's like stuff that he was very sure that he wanted in his life, or the how he wanted his life to be. It was hard for me to combat it or debate with it when on my side there were just little whispers. Like I wasn't sure about anything I really wanted, or like I wasn't very opinionated about what I wanted my life to look like then.
Do you
Um,
think that's something that comes from an age gap relationship?
Very possibly, yeah. Like my ex partner was about 5.5 years older than me, and very possibly. I think it's also just who he was, maybe, or like the life he had. Like he was, broadly speaking, was like very happy with the stuff that he had established in his life, which is wonderful, and they were great. They were great for him. But for me, my little whispers just couldn't really combat that, and like at times I would surface them, and like I would say to him things like, oh, "Wouldn't it be fun if we just moved to Lisbon?" And like I think they came across so not strong in my desire that neither of us took it very seriously. But it doesn't mean it wasn't there. This feeling that I wanted something else in a lot of different areas in my life. And in that sense, I would abandon them. I would abandon my whispers because they weren't strong enough to
Mm.
make a big enough change in my life. I think also abandoning my sense of creativity a bit. I've said before how like I really disconnected from writing music and playing music, and it's not that I abandoned them on purpose, obviously, but I let myself let go of them, and I let myself stop practicing to the point that it became so uncomfortable to practice, either because it
Mm.
literally hurt my fingers playing guitar, or like my voice was so out of practice it sounded awful, so I hated it. Yeah, that was a bit of self abandonment too, because I always knew it was so important to me and to my sense of connection to myself, but I let it go.
Why?
It might be for partially some very practical reasons. Like, we were always living in an environment where someone would hear me if I were to
Mm.
play, and like, I was always a bit uncomfortable with that. So I tended not to. I think it was a bit of that. And it was also that I was like in this state of stress all the time. Like, my nervous system was always a bit stressed because of the kind of lifestyle that I was living, that it never felt very safe or enjoyable to lean into music for some reason. Like, I think for me, like, I need a sense of like quiet and like slowness to play music. And also to write music, for me, that always comes from like a really raw place, and like a raw, vulnerable place. And I felt really disconnected from that voice inside me for a lot of reasons. And so it was almost like I couldn't reach it.
Mm.
Are my answers really long?
No,
Okay.
your answers are great.
Okay.
Um, Question 4. What's your favorite color? I'm
Oh.
joking. Question 4. 2 years ago, you started coming to a big realization that you had to change your life in so many ways, and things, the way you were living wasn't working for you. To what extent was this realization a surprise to you versus more like you stopped lying to yourself?
I don't feel like I was lying to myself. I think like I was quite aware throughout my 20s that something felt wrong. And I was quite aware that I didn't feel like myself. And like I kept grasping at it, but it just felt so unreachable. So I knew something was wrong. And like I could identify some areas in which it was wrong. But it was almost like when it hit me, no, I wasn't expecting it to hit me at that particular time at all. But when it hit me, it was just a totally new level of understanding what was wrong. It wasn't just
Mm.
like, oh, my career feels a bit misaligned with me, or oh, London's a bit stressful, or oh, it wasn't just like that. It was like, oh my God, I'm not listening to myself fundamentally. That was kind of the realization. It's like that maybe I realized that it's really hard to put into words what that experience was like, but it was.
Was it kind of like you could recognize all these things that were wrong, but you kind of just accepted them as part of life, like there's good and bad in life, and then you kind of came to a realization that actually no, this is the wrong life.
Maybe a little bit. Like maybe it was like I had kind of accepted or embraced things as they were, even though like they didn't feel great. But I was like, okay, okay, there's lots to be grateful for. Like, okay, maybe this is just what life is like. And then it just came to a point where I was like, well, what if it's not what life is like? What if I have the power to actually make it something completely different? And what if I'm actually ready to do that now? Like maybe it was just the meeting of me being fed up with stuff and me finally having the strength to do something about it. Because, and that strength, you, you kind of need experience to develop that strength. I think you need to develop that self trust and everything, and knowing that you'll survive changes. So it was, I think, maybe the meeting of that, but I didn't realize that it was going to happen then. It just hit me, and I was like, oh, damn, okay,
Mm.
everything's changed in a moment. And like deep inside, everything's changed in a moment. And my job now is just to reflect what's inside, outside.
Um, I ask because I think that you had a tendency of lying to yourself, or you
Mm,
do have the tendency in general of being able to lie to yourself
mm. Say more.
to stop yourself from taking risks or to stop yourself from losing something that you love.
Mm,
I think that you sometimes lie to yourself.
mm,
And like the thing is that even though I can see it, it's difficult to say, no, I don't think that's the truth. I think you're lying to yourself because these things can't be, you have to realize it for yourself.
yeah.
It's one of those things that like, it's like with, what is it like? People can't, uh, be helped unless they want to help themselves, that kind
Mm,
of thing.
totally. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
interesting you say that. Um, it's something I've thought about actually a fair bit recently. I think I can be quite good at lying to myself, and I think a lot of people can, but I'm very good at like reasoning myself out of the way I really feel,
Mm,
and doing so for someone else as well,
mm,
because I have a tendency to prioritize other people, which is not good. I think a lot of people do. I think a lot of women do. But yeah, yeah. Sometimes it requires lying to yourself to make what you're doing okay, and
mm,
that's part of what I'm learning now. Is like I really don't want to keep doing that. It's really easy to like abandoning the whispers and stuff. It's so easy, and I think it takes a lot of strength to be like, I don't care how this affects someone else right now, or that it doesn't seem smart, or it doesn't seem sensible. Again, I'm a very sensible person, so I'll lie to myself to be sensible. It's hard to do that and just lean into what it is your instinct is saying. But these days, I'm a lot more excited about what my instinct is saying than the other stuff. So I've developed a little bit of
yeah,
that strength now.
yeah. I want to come back to this thing about listening to the whispers later.
Mm, okay.
Okay. Okay, so you've changed your life. Is there anything
Woo!
from your old woohoo? Is there
Wee!
anything is there anything from your old life that you'd like to keep or that you're trying to keep?
Well, besides some of the beautiful people in my life, obviously. I think one thing that really impacted me in my 20s is a lot of like different philosophies about, actually kind of like political philosophies, maybe, like how I value people in society and certain principles that I developed opinions about, I guess, and that I would like to carry into the next phase of life.
Interesting.
Other than that, I'm not sure. Like, there probably is other stuff, but not a whole lot
Any
that stands out
habits?
to me. Habits.
Anything that served you well in your 20s that you want to continue doing in your 30s?
Yes, okay, that helps. Meditating was
Mm,
really big for me. It really helped me at times when I was super anxious. It's pretty obvious stuff, but it was hugely impactful for me. And also, I think my attitudes towards my anxiety, like I had to really evolve my relationship with my anxiety over my 20s, and I think it's in a good place now where I've really befriended it. There's so much I could say about this, and I would love to do a whole other episode about it, but yeah, so that. And also, like, just broadly being a good friend to myself. Like, even throughout dark times or like times where I felt really disconnected in my 20s, I always felt, or even at times I didn't really like myself outwardly. I always had a sense of friendship with myself. I always knew that, like, deep inside, I really loved myself and valued myself and will try to do the best for myself.
mm.
So I don't know where that came from. It probably came from even younger years, and it
Yeah, I
just
was gonna
stayed.
say, I think you've always had a pretty good level of self-esteem. I don't think you've really had self-esteem issues, which really sets you up for life, like for so many things.
Yeah, I think it's
You're
hugely
you're lucky
important.
to have that.
Yeah, I think it's hugely important. And I think, like, when I was really young, I did have very good self esteem. And when it was most challenged was definitely in my 20s. But
Mm.
I think the foundations were always pretty strong there.
Yeah.
So I'd like to just continue that and continue to make it stronger.
Okay, next question.
Okay.
You live with our mom now,
Mm. Not for
and
much
you've
longer,
been,
but yeah.
yeah, but so far, I mean, for the last couple of years, you've been spending most of your time with her, and you've been practicing your music more. How has that helped you?
Mm. Well, they're quite different questions, music and our mom. Our mom, what I kind of realized as I was talking to my coach, actually, maybe like a year and a half ago, was how important it was that I had a place to come to that was with her, because I think she became a bit of like the safety island for me at a time where everything else felt turbulent in my life. And like having a place with your own mother, it's like the source of your life and the place where you're most unconditionally loved and cared for was like such a big safety net for me. So not only practically did I have a space here and it's Portugal and I wanted to be in Portugal anyway, but that being with her just made me feel so safe throughout all of this. And I mean, I've always had a very close relationship with her mom and I could pretty much tell her anything. So she became a bit of a sounding board for a lot of the stuff I was going through. And she was always so willing to listen, willing to accept whatever my feeling or opinion was at that time. And I reckon, I haven't really asked her this, but I reckon that there were times where she knew what I should have done, but she never pushed her opinion. She kind of just like let me go through what it was I needed to go through and just let me know that I was loved and cared for throughout it. So that is priceless in and of itself. Yeah, so that's our mom in a nutshell.
Would you recommend other people who are going through the kind of thing that you've been going through, like questioning their life, would you recommend they spend some more time with their mom?
I think it really depends on your relationship with them. I think for a lot of people, it would be not a good idea. Um, especially if, for example, they have a mother that pushes their opinions and expectations on what you should do in your life. Because then,
Mm,
if that were the case for me, this would have been really impossible. Because I needed to feel like I could do anything to let myself imagine that and be brave
mm,
enough to make change. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend it to anyone. But, you know, I think the thing about it being like, the source of life and the source of unconditional love, I think a lot of people might feel like that is a good reason to spend time with your
mm,
mom, especially if like maybe you tend to resort back to a childlike version of yourself. I think there's something really nice about that. And from that space, a lot of pure decisions can come from. Yeah.
mm. This is, it makes me think about this other podcast episode I listened to. It was The Diary of a CEO, The Diary of a CEO. And it was an episode with, I forgot his name, but I think he was called the charisma expert
Oh, I think I've seen that.
on the
Yeah.
podcast.
Right.
And he was saying how difficult it can be for somebody to if you want to develop your charisma, or I think anything, like you want to change yourself, it's really difficult to do that within your own setting where people know you,
Mm,
because these people will resist the change in you.
mm,
And you need to go to a different setting if you want to remake yourself. I think like what you're saying about our mom being like someone who makes you feel like you can do anything, that's what you need, isn't it? If you really need a change,
mm,
you need to be around people that will accept change in you.
mm. Yeah, totally. I mean, I think that's such a good point. And I think I just happen to have a relationship with our mom where I feel like she she would accept change in me, and she kind of enjoys seeing that in me too. So, to answer the second part of your question about music, how's it helped me? Well, to put simply, because I've had a little bit more inspiration to connect with it, I've just tried to make the most of it. And as a result, have returned back to this sense of like familiarity with it. I've said before, like I feel really myself when I play music. So returning to it. I think also when you do stuff that you're good at, or that you're like you maybe have a gift or a talent or something, like when you feed energy into it, it's just good for you. It's just good for your soul, and it like strengthens your self esteem and
Yeah.
self belief. So yeah.
So would you say that the the process of leaning into all of that with music, with creativity, with being good at something, do you think it's helped you to make the decisions that you've made?
Hmm.
Or would you say it's more like it's helped you to process decisions? Or neither?
A bit of both. Has it helped me? Has music, okay, has creativity helped me make the decision? Maybe a couple, but only in relation to like me posting my
Mm,
music, and also like feeding into the sense that I want to allow myself to be seen more. It kind of feeds into your first question about like living more publicly. There's actually probably more I could say about that, but yeah, I think like returning to that is helping me feel a bit more, because I love that part of me. I want to be open to sharing it with the world. And so it's given me a bit more confidence to do that. But
mm,
I can't say it's helped me make some of the other decisions, like leaving London or going through a breakup
yeah.
and stuff like that.
But it
Um,
is one of the new decisions that you've made in your new life to kind of publicize some parts of your life and be creative in that.
like something I want to say about that, about why I'm doing that, is also it's an instinct. Like I think I have this instinct, and I think I had it when I was younger too, but I kind of forgot about it in a way. But I have this instinct that it's going to sound a bit silly, but that it's part of my purpose to live more outwardly and to use my vulnerability as like a superpower in how I impact other people through my life. Like I just have this
Mm.
feeling that I'm supposed to do that to some degree, and
I
it's
think that makes
scary.
sense. I mean, when you were a child, you were a performer.
Yeah, yeah, and I love seeing other people do that. It's like it's what inspires me, not just perform, but like be outwardly vulnerable, which is scary, and it is indeed vulnerable. But yeah, I think I'm supposed to for some reason.
Mm.
So I'm kind of just letting myself follow the instinct and see what happens.
You say for some reason, and it's made me think of another question.
Okay.
There were quite a few times in your vlog where you said, "Oh, like I couldn't explain it. It was just like I knew it had to be this for some reason." I think that comes from maybe this isn't a question, but like kind of your ability to lie to yourself, reason yourself out of things that you really want. And then when you feel actually this is what I really want, you're like, for some reason, like where does that come from? Whereas other people, they probably, if they never abandoned that thing that they wanted, they would never think, oh, for some reason. They would just be like, yeah, that's what I want. That's what I've always wanted.
Yeah.
But for you, it's like almost everything you have to kind of be like, wait, what's real and what do I really want and
Yeah.
why is that? Because I've been doing something else my whole life.
Yeah. It's funny, like, I'm both a very emotional person and a very reasonable, rational person. And so I think sometimes they're really at war,
Mm,
where I feel the need to have a reason to do everything. I feel the need to be able to hold on to knowing that a decision is right. And often that means giving a reason, a rational, logical reason.
yeah.
But I'm believing less and less that that is needed. Like,
Mm,
just feeling it is a reason. And you will probably find out the reasonable reason later as well. Like, it will probably lead you to something that makes total sense,
mm,
but it might not right now. So I'm accepting this idea that there's a lot more you can know in your body that is outside of your conscious mind,
mm,
and that it's part of being human. It's part of how we're evolved to be. Like, like even just all our survival instincts. You know that in your body. You know when you're hungry. You know even things like when something looks poisonous and you shouldn't eat it, kind of stuff. Like you just know that stuff, and it's not in your conscious mind. But I think there's a lot more than survival that our body is trying to lead us to, but also thriving. I think your body knows stuff that is trying to let you thrive and not just survive. And
interesting.
it's not all in your conscious mind always. And yeah, we got to tune into it.
Okay, that leads well into our conclusion. Um, we hope that whoever's listening to this maybe like could relate to some of the things you said, or maybe it was something totally new they've never thought about, and maybe they could apply it to their life. But if you were to speak to someone who's listening, who's maybe feeling like something isn't right in their life, maybe they're not used to listening to their inner voice, what tips would you give them? What questions should they ask themselves? What advice do you have for them?
I love this question. Well, tips. Okay. Here's a simple one: meditate. And when I say meditate, I think a lot of people who are not familiar with meditating think that you can be good and bad at meditating, and bad means that you're still thinking when you're meditating. But I want you to consider meditating to be a workout. It's like you're practicing using a muscle, and that muscle is pulling yourself out of your own thoughts to observe your thoughts. And that's, you're going to have to go through that cycle of finding yourself in your thoughts and pulling yourself out of it, and just keep doing that. And that is meditating, or at least is part of it. And it gets you really good at being able to observe your own feelings without feeling like it's totally absorbed you. Also, I think another kind of simple one is just slow the hell down. Like literally slow down with your movement, with moving between plans. Firstly, like try to plan less. If you feel like you're planning too much, plan less, and then just go slow in your day. Have a really slow day. Like, walk to the kitchen slower, make a meal slower, clean
Why?
slower, because it will help you
Because they'll
feel
get
more
so
present.
bored that they'll think about life
Well,
questions.
that is part of it. Like, invite boredom in, because I think a lot can come out of boredom. A lot of like
Yeah.
sensing your own instinct, or like having a creative idea, or remembering something that you hadn't thought of in forever. But I think the slowness just helps you be more present, and you're not having to think about, okay, what's this next thing I have to go to, or what's this thing I have to plan or remember. Just like be there, and then it helps you listen to your body better. Was there something else in terms of tips?
What
Well, oh yes,
questions should people ask themselves?
yes, I'll get there in a second. But one other tip is
Okay.
what we were saying earlier, like do something that you feel is like a gift of yours,
Mm.
and feed into it, because I think there's a lot of like gold in there, a lot of you in it. So connect with it.
Mm.
Questions. Okay, I've got some questions here. Firstly, if you're not sure what to do, ask yourself, if I secretly knew the answer already, what is it?
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. It like, for some reason, adding the word secret like really changes it. And you can be like, oh yeah, I kind of do secretly know the answer, but I've spent all this time reasoning against it that I
Mm.
can't, I've lost it.
So let's say that I'm in a relationship and I'm not so sure about this relationship. Do you think this question would work?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think so too.
yeah, exactly. Also, here's another one that maybe helps with like more career oriented stuff. Think about, for anyone listening, think about how much savings you have. Not everyone has some, but just think about how much you do have, okay? Now ask yourself, if tomorrow suddenly you had nothing on your schedule, you didn't have a job, you didn't have anything you had to do, but you only had your savings, what are you going to do with your time? If
Mm.
you're immediately going to go look for a 9 to 5 job, great. Maybe you're already doing that, and sounds like you're doing the thing you should be doing. If it's something completely different, what's the actual reason you're not doing that then?
But what if they have no savings? That question can't help, surely. So you'd be like, well, I'd
Correct.
have to find a job.
Correct. And fine, that might be the right thing, in which case you might be working a job and you're like, cool, this is what I should be doing right now. But like for a lot of people, they're like stuck in a 9 to 5 job that they don't like. They've grown these savings, and they're like, they have this idea of like what it is they're aiming for, what they're working towards, or whatever. Like, oh, I'll do life later. I'll do the things I want to do later. But if tomorrow you had nothing to do and you just had the savings, what would you do? Because it might be something completely different. Or it might be like, I'll travel for 6 months and then find a job, whatever.
Yeah.
That moment is now. Like, you can just quit.
Quit your job, folks,
Yeah, exactly.
even if you have zero in savings.
Okay, I have two more questions. if you could do if you could do anything with your time, imagine if money wasn't a factor. You didn't have to have an income or anything. If you could just design your ideal life, firstly, what would it look like? You build a bit of a picture in your head, and then ask, how can I make money from that? How can I possibly make money from that? And that can be a way to start steering your career vision. There's so many creative ways to make money that you would have never seen an example of, or maybe it doesn't exist yet, or whatever. But there's so many ways to make money.
Hmm.
So that's another one. And then lastly, for someone who struggles with like anxiety or depression or something similar, you could ask yourself, what is that thing here to teach you? Like, what is it trying to tell you? And while often it makes sense to treat depression and anxiety, consider maybe it's not that needs to be treated, but the thing it's trying to tell you needs to be treated.
Yeah. So that reminds me of 2 years ago when you first started having this, what do we call
I,
it?
I,
Transformation,
yeah, okay.
these realizations. You were just like overwhelmed quite suddenly with anxiety. Do you feel like you had to ask yourself that question? What is it trying to tell me right now?
Yes. I think in that particular time, it was also quite clear that the anxiety was there because I knew I had to make some really difficult decisions, and that was just scary. But it was also, what is it? What is it trying to tell me, for sure? And I think that's something I've learned generally about the presence of my anxiety in my life, is that it's often there to tell me that, for me, it's often that I'm not being authentic about something. And that's when it
Mhm.
appears. And so the question is, okay, what is this thing that I'm not being authentic about, and how do I address that? And then it helps with my anxiety.
Do you have any relationship specific questions that people should ask themselves?
Hmm.
Were there any questions that you asked yourself when you were considering ending your relationship that once you answered it, you knew?
The first thing that comes to mind is, what does this person deserve? As in your
Mm,
partner. What do they deserve better than this? Than
mhm.
what I know I can give? Which is hard to say because
Yeah,
I know I give a lot. I know in so many ways I was good for my partner, but I think there was a part of me that knew, because of what it was I was truly feeling deep down, they didn't
yeah,
deserve that. So,
yeah,
yeah, it's accepting that.
yeah. If you're questioning your relationship, your partner doesn't know what's happening in your head, but if they knew, do they deserve that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. Hmm.
And vice versa.
Okay.
In other situations, it's, what do I actually deserve? Do I deserve better? Do I know deep down that I deserve better? Even though I love this person, even if I appreciate a lot of things they do I deserve
Yeah.
better? Pretty simple, but it's easier said than done to make decisions off of that question.
Yeah, because a lot of people will talk themselves out of that question.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, bonus question. I've been starting to feel like I need a change in life.
Mm.
Do you feel like any of the lessons that you've learned recently can be applied to me?
This is hard because I think we're on quite a different journey of lessons we need to learn. Um, I don't feel like you've particularly ever had a problem of like trusting yourself or listening to what you want in the
Oh,
same
I
way
forgot
I
about
do.
that question
What?
about the self-trust. Where did that go? Oh, I'm sorry. I have to go back to that.
Okay, let's go back.
This was the next question. Okay. So you've said that you're building your self-trust, and on your vlog, you said that your life coach helped you to build your self-trust.
Mm,
So, yeah, like to me, I don't actually know if I can relate to that. I don't know what that means. So, what does that mean? Did you not trust yourself before, and what is it? What is the experience of building your self-trust?
that's a hard question to put into words, or answer to put into words. Um, did I not trust myself before? I think for me, what it comes back to is that my reasoning myself out of my feelings and beliefs, I was very good at. And then you could say that that is a bit of like not trusting yourself
Hmm.
because you have an instinct, you reason yourself out of it. So it's kind of that for me. And I think it's also the strength to envision something better for yourself and actually believing you can reach it. So just believing
Hmm.
yourself, believing
So
that,
it comes back to like what you deserve, that
yeah.
maybe you deserve more.
Or maybe like believing that the universe might show up for you if you just tried. If you just you hold up your end of the bargain, believe in yourself and try your best and things might work in your favor
Hmm.
thanks to
So does it
everything.
go back to what you said earlier about like you didn't have the experience to know that you could fail and you'd be okay?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. I think because like my decisions were always pretty sensible. I wasn't very familiar with being in a place of like I'm risking something and it works out. So, but because I feel like I've done that the last couple of years, like risking stuff, and it not I don't know if it's worked out yet. It's unfolding, but I know inside it feels right. And that is reward enough. So that cycle for me, that like positive reinforcement, has been developing my self trust. Take one little step in the direction that feels right, even if you can't figure out why it feels right, and you will immediately get the reward of, hell yeah, this was right.
That makes sense when you use the word trust because when you trust someone and they tell you something, you believe them. You don't need them to explain it.
When someone tells you something?
If someone you trust
Oh,
tells you something, you don't necessarily need them to explain it. You just believe them. So it's
yeah,
kind of that makes sense. But if it's self-trust, like you just feel something, fine. I believe myself
yeah,
and I'll follow that.
yeah. Like letting
Hmm.
them play the role of the leader and not like constantly negotiating with them.
Hmm.
Like things
Yeah.
just don't need to be that complicated sometimes. Like you really don't have to overthink that much.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. So back to me.
Yeah, a lesson for you to learn. I think maybe, well, if I had to link it back to anything that we've spoken about, I think like having the bravery to envision better for yourself, having the imagination and boldness to envision better for yourself.
I don't not doing well enough.
Hmm, I think part of the lesson you have been learning is about like accepting what is, which is great and is valuable. But I think what's maybe come hand in hand with that is thinking a bit small in terms of your ambition and like your vision for your life.
I think you're very accurate there.
Mm. But you will, when you're ready, I think, start to think differently. You just have to make room for it when it starts to appear. Make room.
Okay, well, I think that's the interview over. I'm glad it ended with me because there was way too much about you.
Yeah, I know. It feels a bit. It feels a bit exposing. It feels a bit like self-centered. But I hope that anyone listening feels like it's actually about them.
Yeah, Yeah. Otherwise, like people dropped off ages ago. I say that every episode though.
Yeah, you
Okay.
gotta think bigger.
Well, since I'm leading this episode, I've got the fun thing for us to end on, the fun note.
Okay.
What song would you say represents your life right now and why?
Okay, there's a song that I stumbled across the other day, which so it's fairly new, and it really moved me. And I think it's a good encapsulation of a lot of the stuff that I'm feeling and the lessons I'm trying to embed into my life, I guess.
Hmm.
And it's called Magnolia by Gabrielle Aplin. And you probably have not heard of it before. But I wanted to read the lyrics to you.
Please sing it for us. Oh,
I'm not going to sing it, but
or read.
I do want to read the lyrics. For some reason, I feel nervous though.
Just reading the lyrics?
Yeah, because it's really nice and it might make me a bit emotional.
Oh,
It's always when you read poetry, sometimes it's just a bit exposing.
yeah.
Okay.
We can give you a cry break after, like midway if you want.
And then I come back totally red faced.
Yeah.
Okay, now. Just need to center myself. All right. Okay, it goes. Turn the light on, turn the page. Turn into me instead of turning away. You can turn the car round right back to my place, but you can't stop the night as it turns into day. Now it's your turn to take the wheel, move in all directions any way that you feel. You can turn yourself in, guilty of your crime, but you can't turn back the hands of time. Blink and you might miss her, Magnolia. Life's like running water, then is over. Turn the tables, try to make it right. The caterpillar turns himself into a butterfly. Part of something bigger, turn up in a crowd, but you can't stop the water once it's turned into clouds. Blink and you might miss her, Magnolia. Life's like running water, then is over. Turn to the lighthouse leading you to land. Turn a conversation into words you understand. Try not to worry, the time is passing by. Turn down the noise and you'll find me all right. Turn down the noise and you'll find me all right.
Oh,
Isn't it nice?
very nice.
It makes me want to cry. You should hear the song too. It's really beautiful. I'll send it to you afterwards.
Is it like an acoustic song or?
It's purely a cappella with just harmonies.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I was thinking of doing a cover actually with just a bunch of harmonies. I might do that at some point.
Yeah, why not?
I don't think I need a cry break. I'm okay.
Very nice.
How about you? What's your song?
Well, I'm gonna need a cry break because my song is ABBA's Money, Money, Money.
So cry worthy.
This,
Oh, conveniently, I've got a tissue here. That's nice.
I'm sure everyone knows the song, so I don't need to read the lyrics or anything. But Money, Money, Money is about a poor woman who wants a rich man and who is sad because she works all the time but never has a penny left for her. And she is thinking about escaping, maybe winning a casino game. This is my, yeah, pretty much. That's pretty much what's happening
How often
in
do you
my
go to
head.
the casino? How's the casino going?
I I relate to it more like the lyrics of that part are like, so I'll have to leave, I'll have to go, something to Las Vegas or
Yeah.
Monaco. It's more of the vibe, like not casino, but I have to go and I have to just
Mm.
enjoy myself, maybe
Follow
get
that.
some money.
Follow that cash. Yeah, I'm with you. That song is
Um,
so good.
it's a good song. Yeah.
I'm a big fan of
Also,
ABBA, and
yeah, me
like
too.
so many people are. I like to believe I'm a fan of them in a different way that people are, but that's probably a bit arrogant of me. But I just think,
I actually understand them.
yeah,
Okay.
I know. But like, I genuinely think their songwriting is it's just such good pop. It's so like um relatable, but creative and like humorous and fun. I just think they're great.
Yeah, I agree. I love them. I mean, you know more about songwriting than I do, but yeah. I
It's true.
also chose this song to represent my life because I often use it um, in my lessons with my students, and I just used it this week.
Oh yeah?
Like, yeah, we do a bit of like fill in the gaps of the lyrics on a sheet of paper. They have little pictures. It's not my worksheet. I didn't make it. I found it online. But they have like a little pictures of like so it goes like for example uh must be funny in a rich man's, and then they have a gap and a little picture of the earth, and they have
Okay.
to guess the words and stuff, and then they listen, and then we do a little sing along. So
That's so
I
fun.
use that.
But they
I
probably
actually use that song a lot in my life.
does it make the answers too easy though? Because if everyone knows the
No,
song.
because they're low level students. They won't know the words.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's
this is
fun.
for lower level. There's bit there's some difficult words like um and if he happens to be free, I bet he wouldn't fancy me. And then they have this, instead of fancy, they have this little thumbs up. And
Mm-hmm.
of course, the students go, oh, like.
Mm-hmm.
But then you get to teach them fancy means like, you know.
Mm.
Anyway, so I use this song a lot in my life. And yeah, it represented my week anyway.
Love that. I love how much more lighthearted yours was compared to mine.
I just want to say, if anyone who's listening doesn't actually know me, I'm kidding about um, that I just want to find a rich man. I mean, that would be nice, but I'm not that shallow.
It would be
Kind
nice
of.
if it happened to be a rich man.
Yeah, that's what the lyrics should say.
in a
What does the rich man
in a rich man's world, in the world of a man who happens to be rich.
yeah.
Well, thank you for your questions, Sal. It was very nice to reflect on things a bit deeper and sort of express my journey in more detail. They were very thoughtful questions as well.
Thank you for answering. And guys, if you haven't seen Tanya's vlog, go and watch it. It's really good, I think. I'm biased, but
Thanks. You're definitely going to be biased. I'm not sure it's all that interesting, but go, yeah, find it somewhere in the links or whatever. And if you feel like seeing what happens next in my life, subscribe if you like. Yeah. All right.
by the way, I really hate how I did my blush. I look like a doll, like especially with these pigtails. So can I take off some makeup and we film this episode again?
You know, they say if you have your blush positioning a little bit lower in your cheek, it does make you look younger because it makes your cheeks look fuller. Apparently, so
Oh,
little
that
little
makes
beauty
sense.
tip there for you
On top
guys.
of all the other tips in
Yeah,
this video, that was a good one. Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Well,
Okay, bye.
well. Thanks everybody, and Sasha. Bye. Love you.
Thanks everyone, and Tanya. Bye.